Everyone has dreams. I was dreaming about the time millions of years ago when the dinosaurs ruled this planet. When I was older, my knowledge about the world of reptiles got wider, and I figured out that there is a place on Earth where it is possible to go back in time. Remote and wild islands ruled by the mighty lizard, called in the local language Ora, the dragon. My dream and lifelong goal to reach this place have now become a reality. We are debarking at Komodo National Park, the last kingdom of dragons. In 1910, a Dutch pilot, Van Dyck, had to do an emergency landing on the island of Komodo. He spent there a few months until he was saved by some local fishermen. After coming home, he was telling stories about huge lizards resembling dragons with fire coming out from their mouth. To survive, he was stealing from their kills and eating meat from dead deer and wild boar. He had a feeling that according to some strange twist of fate, he was brought to prehistoric times. Most of the people were laughing at his stories. But not the director of the botanical garden in Boger on the Java island Owens and governor of Flores Island, Van Steen. They were so interested in the stories of the pilot that they organized an expedition to Komodo 2 years after his return. It was a heavily armed group of people with orders straight from the Dutch government. They really discovered a giant lizard, and Owens correctly classified it to monitor lizards and officially described it with the scientific name Varanus komodoensis. So in 1912, the Western world heard about Komodo dragons for the first time, and it showed that amazing discoveries in nature are still possible. Today, nobody is surprised about the existence of Komodo dragons anymore. The Komodo National Park was established in 1980 on few small islands where the dragons lived to protect them. 11 years later, the park was included on the list of UNESCO sites, and in 2007 it was voted one of the 7 new nature wonders of the planet. Despite the fact that this place is very remote, it is very popular among tourists, and every morning there are many ships full of people moving towards the coast. The last kingdom of dragons is located in Indonesia, a country comprised of more than 17,000 islands. The national park is part of the Lesser Sunda Islands. Thanks to dangerous water currents in the sea and harsh conditions on the islands, this area was never highly populated, and even today, just around 4,000 people live here. Komodo National Park covers around 1,700 square kilometers on the biggest Komodo and Rincha Islands, and 27 more together with the marine ecosystems in the sea around. It is early morning on Komodo Island. An old male dragon is walking in the ranger station. The peak of his strength was a long time ago, and that is why it is trying to find some leftovers around the houses. There are some other big lizards which spend most of their time in the ranger station, and they are the main attraction for tourists. The adult Komodo dragons can grow up to more than 3 meters and weigh 150 kilograms. But these are the records. The usual length is about 2.5 meters and weight slightly less than 100 kilograms. Komodo dragons are the biggest venomous animals on the planet. Thanks to research done in the last few years, we know that they have a true venom gland in the lower jaw. Apart from that, they get potentially dangerous bacteria into their mouths thanks to feeding on carcasses. For their safety, visitors can move inside the park just with the company of park rangers. Most of the tourists spend around 3 hours on the island, take some photos of dragons lying around the ranger station, and they leave. We want to explore the life of the biggest lizard in the world more precisely, so we are working together with the biggest expert on reptiles in the park.
My name is Ajis. I'm one of the rangers in this park. Well, I've been working in this park more or less 23 years. So I come join work in this park around 1993. I was 20 years old. I'm hobby with reptile or snake, but before I'm nothing with snake or some reptile. Well, one of the professional guys from Australia, maybe people all in the world know him, Steve Irwin, and then first time I met him on 1996, so I see him catch the snake. So and then I asked how to catch the poisonous or how to know to make difference between dangerous one and not dangerous one. Totally, population of Komodo dragon in the park around 3,000 more or less. Because Komodo dragon could be live on Komodo Island, on Rincha Island, Kilimotang Island, and Nusa Kode. If the Komodo dragons very hungry, they have to catch the deer. If they have good catch, they will kill direct the deer. If not, let the deer go away. So they will have to waiting 1 or 3 days later. They have to follow and then try to check again or control. When find, and they will kill and then eat together. But first, only one dragon, how to say, go hunting, and then when the deers die and blooding everywhere, so that means they can other dragons coming, they are eat together. So for Komodo dragons, they can live without food a month, no problem, because they are not active animals. They are not like dog, not like lions. They have need food every day. But Komodo dragons look like how to say, a python snake. They have food once a week, once a month, no problem.
Our main aim will be to film the wild dragons in the forest away from the ranger station. But we are also going to look for other creatures living in this ecosystem. Some of them are venomous, so we have special equipment with us to handle them safely. But we don't need to use it right now. The more deep into the forest we go, the more we think about the ancient and unique relationships among the organisms here. This is the only place on Earth where reptiles dominate the food chain. This morning, a strong male dragon killed a big deer. It can eat 35 kilograms of meat in one meal, which is half of the killed animal. Dragon must eat fast because the smell of the carcass will soon attract others. Nothing is wasted. Not even internal organs and bones. The dragon is waiting for big prey like this, usually for a month. After the feast, the giant lizard searches for water, but there is a shortage of it on the island at the very end of the dry season. Every natural water source is dry. In the ranger station there is water, and some animals spend most of their time here in this part of the year. The deers feel safe here because the dragons hunt deeper in the forest. While adult deers have a rest, the younger ones are preparing themselves for the future by ritualized combats. We are back in the forest in the afternoon when the temperature goes down. The carcass has been moved and a young dragon found it. It just could not resist its smell. The young Komodo dragons spend most of their time in the trees up to approximately 3 years of age because they are avoiding meetings with the adults. They are not hesitating to attack a smaller animal from the same species. But now another threat is approaching the scene, a wild boar. It scares a young lizard from the feeding place for a minute, but it is too scared of our team and vanishes suddenly. After coming back, the youngster meets another intruder, a bigger dragon. It seems that there is so much food here that the adult does not need to be aggressive. On the feast, the Komodo dragons resemble mighty dinosaurs, the rulers of prehistoric time. Nothing can fight their dominance on these remote islands. The small dragon is full. It cleanses its mouth and leaves. It is time for us to try to use our special dolly for video camera or photo camera, thanks to which we can try to get very close to the dragon. The giant reptile is slowly finishing the meal, but we are able to get some close-up photographs. The remains of the deer are being removed all over the area, and on the beach they are found by our old dragon, which is waiting for these opportunities. It can be more than 40 years old, so it maybe remembers the establishment of the Komodo National Park. The flow of energy in the food chain is complete now. Every morning before the arrival of tourists, rangers of the national park clean the beach around the ranger station.
Well, on the park we have some regulation for all the visitor come here. So not allowed to throw the rubbish on the way. Not allowed to smoking along the trail because we have to keep this park clean always, and then we have to care with the fire also, because now start our dry season, so hard, very very dangerous for fire. The rubbish come from, let me say, 75% from the ship or big boat, because Indonesia people, let me say Indonesian country, come from many islands. So that's mean from island to other island we have to use transportation by boat. So the mentality for the local people, very easy to throw the rubbish on the ocean. So our program, let me say park program, how to make the local people around the park understand about the conservation, about the rubbish, about the cleaning every day, something like that.
The rubbish left on the islands by tourists are interesting for rodents, and these animals are favourite prey of snakes. Snakes serve as a good tool for avoiding the rodent populations to become too big in the ecosystem. There are 10 species living in Komodo National Park. Only on Komodo Island there are lesser Sunda pit vipers with blue colour. Everywhere else have these small tree vipers green or yellow coloured. Blue individuals are not so well camouflaged in the vegetation, so they are more aggressive. The venom of this species is not so strong to kill a human being, but an untreated bite can lead to severe necrosis. The pit viper hunts during the night, and it is also the best time to find them. Much more potent venom has the Siamese Russell's viper, which relies on perfect camouflage in the dead leaves on the forest floor. It is one of the most beautifully coloured snakes, but it is also responsible for more than 1,000 deadly bites per year. Most of them happen when people are working in the forest without shoes and they step on the camouflaged snake. When the viper meets, for example, the Komodo dragon, it starts to puff up itself and hiss, which it does by exhalation of big amounts of air from inside of the body. the attacker gets a message that it met a dangerous animal and the snake can save the precious venom for future hunting. Approximately at 8 o'clock, the Komodo dragons start to sunbathe to gain energy for hunting during the day later.
Not all the tourists come or visit in the park or find the deer killed by Komodo dragon or buffalo killed by Komodo dragons. Not very often. But for me, because I'm stay here, of course, let me say I'm not very often, but I have many seen the Komodo dragon kill the deer, kill the buffalo. But for tourists, not always. From 100 or more than 100 group, maybe one group or 2-3 group only find the Komodo dragons, get the deer, because depend their luck. Some tourists lucky, some tourists because they know already, they have come here because here's wildlife. We are not give the Komodo dragon food, not feeding. They feed it by themselves.
The dragons hunt in the hottest part of the day when deers and wild boars rest in the shadow. A loud screaming signals that somewhere nearby a deer was attacked. We are at the place in the right time. Two dragons are approaching the wounded deer, which cannot escape due to the injury on its leg. It doesn't stand a chance against the rulers of this world. Venom of Komodo dragons affects the victim slowly and causes internal bleeding, decrease of blood pressure, and weakness. Because the venomous bite is not killing the animal quickly, the predator often starts to feed on the prey when it's still alive. We may consider this as a cruel behavior, but in fact, it is just a fight for survival, which can be seen anywhere in nature. The dead body will serve as food for a few more dragons and more other animals. Just 20 minutes by boat from the forest full of dragons, there is one of the most beautiful pink beaches in the world. The sand is full of small pieces of corals, and thanks to them it gets an interesting colour. Most people who visit Komodo National Park come to see this place. There is a colourful coral reef full of life under the water. The local marine fauna is one of the most diverse in the world and is also protected within the park. We travel to Rincha Island. The ranger station is more far away from the coast here than on Komodo Island. Thanks to the proximity of Flores Island, thousands of visitors come to Rincha every year. Around the ranger station there are not only Komodo dragons, but also other animals. Long-tailed macaques live only on Rincha. They are not present on Komodo because of its bigger isolation from Flores. The forest around is a great place for finding snakes. Javan's spitting cobra is one of the species active during the day. When attacked, it can spit its venom to the eyes of the aggressor. This individual is not in good shape and has an injured eye, probably after the fight with a rat or another prey. The drops of venom are so small that they are not visible to the eye, and spitting is revealed just by head movements of the snake and hissing. Deeper in the forest there are a few nests occupied by female Komodo dragons. Surprisingly, these huge mounds were built by someone else, a tireless megapode birds. They form partnerships for whole life and keep their nests in good condition throughout the year, even after the time when their chicks leave them. Female dragons take advantage of this and lay their eggs inside. They keep almost continuous guard to discourage any visitors from stealing from their nest. After darkness, different animals are active around the ranger station. Sleeping dragons can be found in the toilets every night. Tourists are not allowed to stay here overnight, and rangers do not disturb them. Outside in the forest there are smaller lizards on the hunt. For example, tokay geckos. But there are predators waiting for a killer round. Pit vipers. A long waiting without any movement was worth it, and the snake surprises its prey by fast attack. The venom goes inside the body of the victim through long fangs. When the gecko stops fighting, the predator starts to move its body inside the mouth by jaw movements. It can do it even in a hanging position with its head down. Now the pit viper will digest and rest in the tree for a few days. There are no dragons around the ranger station next morning. Something must have attracted them up to the hills. We climb up to check the situation. Everywhere around is the palm savanna, environment very typical for Komodo National Park. we find another javelin-spitting cobra in a dry riverbed. This one is in good health and ready to show us the art of spitting. Cobra reacts strongly to black colour and focuses its attention only to black objects. The typical hood of this snake is made by spreading neck ribs, which makes it look bigger. Some cobras can spit the venom through small cavities and fangs and aim very precisely at the aggressor. Everything happens very quickly, and the animal will usually not notice the presence of venom in its eyes. If the venom stays there, it can cause blindness. To see the spitting moment better and closer, we encounter the cobra with our camera on our dolly device. Soon we have the lens full of small drops of dangerous cocktails of toxins. Higher in the dry riverbed we find buffaloes. These giants weigh up to 1 ton and are hiding here from the sun and to relax. Today they seem to be nervous, and soon we find out why. Just nearby there is a fresh carcass of buffalo, and dragons from the whole island are gathering around. They can smell the blood from distances up to 3 kilometers. Few dozens of predators can eat the meat from this buffalo, and it is clear that some aggressive encounters are going to happen. The skin of the huge mammal is tough, and for now opened in just one place. Suddenly, 2 even rivals appear. They fight each other on hind legs like dinosaurs. The feast will last for a few more days, and many dragons will arrive. Those with a full stomach will return back to the ranger station. Komodo dragon is a symbol of nature protection in Indonesia and a reminder of prehistoric times for us. Every year, more than 100,000 people visit Komodo National Park, and they want to see this amazing animal. Dragons share this ecosystem with many more exciting animals, perfectly adapted for life on these small islands. Together, they form a fragile balance of life a few million years old. I have another dream. The dream about this remote and mysterious place in the future, preserved for new generations. I see myself visiting it again with my children. I want them to know that dragons are real, and they don't live only in books of fairy tales.